Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today I'm going to be reviewing another Disney film for my Disney movie marathon. And trust me folks, I got a bunch of these to talk about, among other things, obviously. So, this is going to be an animated feature from the 1980s. So yeah, it's going to be a quite an old one. So it's going to be a hand-drawn animated film titled Oliver and Company, which yes is an animated theme film with animals. So this was released by the Walt Disney Pictures. It's the 27th Disney animated feature film. It is based upon the 1838 Charles Dickens novel Oliver Twist. So I have not read the book, so I can't really tell you how accurate it is to the source material, and chances are it's not going to be exactly accurate, really. But this book, Out of a Twist, has been adapted to many other times for the silver screen and television anyway, so whatever, guess. So, anyway, it was released multiple times over the years, folks, even in a three movie packet on Blu ray. So, if you're a fan of this film, you're definitely in luck because it shouldn't be too hard to find any of these versions that were released over the time. So, I guess that's not surprising because this film was actually fairly popular, of course, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, of course. So, I do think that it's definitely worth that mention because it's definitely one of the more beloved Disney films that they made over the years. So, of course, there's gonna be more, and yeah, a few more than a few different versions of this film. So, it's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. With that, I mean, come on, they do that with a bunch of their other animated films anyway. So it would make sense that they would do this. So there's that, of course. And I just want to bring that to anybody's attention. If anyone wants to buy themselves a copy, or maybe give one as a gift for maybe someone's birthday party or something. I don't know. Well, anywho, as usual, I do have to talk about the plot of this movie. So let's begin, shall we? Here we go. Obviously, we get to see that this going to be the main character is going to be with the cat and a dog, and a little human girl, of course. A lost and alone kitten does join up with a gang of dogs, and let's just say they're definitely going to have their own little adventure, of course, because it's a Disney movie. They're supposed to have a little adventure. The kitten is a homeless cat, of course, named Oliver, and roams the streets of New York City because, of course, New York City seems to be a popular setting for a lot of these movies. And I've seen a lot of movies taking place in New York City, so that's perfectly fine by me. But anyway, where he is taken in by this gang of homeless dogs as they try to survive by stealing from others, of course. During one of the criminal acts, though, Oliver does meet up with a wealthy young girl named Jenny. So let's just say this meeting kind of a thing does change the course of their life from the rest of this point. So yeah, and that's the thing. It's supposed to be about, I guess, discovery in some regard. I can see why they would want an orphan type character to be a part of the story. It makes sense from a narrative perspective because more often than not, when you're writing a story, you want the audience to like the character. And one of the more popular character tropes in film is an orphan character. And it has to find a way to live, go through some sort of discovery, of course. And another thing is that the character is also a cat. And there's many, many people out there who actually enjoy cats. So combine the two, you definitely have a way to make the character seem really likable. So there you go. And yeah, that character, Oliver, is pretty much left abandoned after his fellow kittens were adopted by someone, of course. So as a result, our main character here is definitely left wandering the streets by himself in search of somebody to adopt him. And let's just say that eventually he is he definitely meets up with this character, this dog, who's like very laid back and whatnot. So let's just say that real adventure starts to really pick up from here, of course. So yeah, let's just say that this film definitely has a pretty good story. I like that. This was a nice little movie that they made, folks. I like the animation, of course. It was definitely nicely done in that regard as well. The movements was pretty good. I like the detail of the artwork. It makes you believe that these characters can have their own personalities, of course. And it was a nice little touch that they would do their own version of an old story, but do it with animals. So yeah, in some ways I do miss the old time animation, but for what it's worth, it's not too bad. This, of course, like you might expect, great music, of course. The music itself is really nice. The story itself is pretty straightforward, and it's definitely a nice little gem that a lot of people can actually like. The dialogue isn't too bad, of course. So overall, a really nicely put together film, of course. The animation does help to give you a sense of what they were trying to do. Yeah, the film does actually have a nice little look to it, an old style of the older Disney films, which is quite nice. There's some great character animation, of course, throughout the entire thing. The framework has been used effectively throughout the entire movie, like in the background and whatnot. So a lot of stuff is actually nice and detailed. So yeah, I like the colors as well. So yeah, they don't make the animation films like this anymore, really. But still, for what it's worth, it's not too bad. Like I said, I like the music. The music itself does help to give you a certain uh, feel for it. And at the end of the day, this film is definitely a product of its time in the late 1980s. The film, yeah, okay, might feel dated into some ways because of how the clothing, definitely the clothing is definitely of its time as well. So there's that. So look at how the cars look at how the music is, everything really. Listen to the music that was made back then or whatever. So yeah, it may not be the most up to date kind of a movie, really, in that regard, but still, this is its own charm to this film. Of course, I did like what was done. I like the characters, of course. The characters, they will all have their own kind of personality, obviously. So I did like how what was done, of course. So this definitely reminded me of an era of the old Disney films, of course. And I do wish that it could be done like this again. This is an animated film that you could add to your Disney collection. And I did think that this was a pretty good film as a whole. And know, strangely enough, even though Airforce and I do have a cat, but animal themed films were never really my thing, really. So I guess whatever. It seems kind of weird considering that. But nonetheless, folks, I did like the film. I did like the character designs, of course. They came out vibrant, and even though it's a much older film, but still, for what it's worth, it's nicely done in that regard as well. And yeah, if you haven't seen this film as of yet, I would definitely say that it's a pretty solid film. I know a lot of people seem to enjoy this film mostly for nostalgic feelings, really. But with that aside, it's actually a pretty decent film as a whole. The story itself is pretty solid. Like I said, the dialogue isn't too bad. I mean, okay, it might not win any awards for Shakespearean or anything, but still, nonetheless, the music is definitely a highlight. The story does have a surprising emotional impact, and the climax is pretty exciting in its own little way. I do like the New York setting in here, folks. Even though, like I said before, there's a lot of movies I've seen that take place in New York City. So overall, a pretty good film that it will charm a lot of people. So it's definitely something I can say it's definitely worth the watch. So yeah, an overall nicely done movie as a whole. I did like the way the story was told, of course, because they try to keep things interesting in its own little way, which doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, of course. I did like the way that the characters, each of them, will have their own type of personality, of course, even though it's animation. You have to convey their personality somehow because this is not a live action movie. You have to animate their body movements to go along with the way their personality would be, of course. So I did like the music. I did like the other character movements. I did like how everything was done, of course. This film does have a pretty good soundtrack. The soundtrack is pretty easily memorized, of course. So you can easily sing along with these types of music throughout the entire movie. So if it's something that might seem charming to you, I'll definitely say I'll recommend this, folks, if you have not seen this film as of yet. Because overall, this film does have its own little thing going on. I did like the voice acting. The voice acting is actually really nice. So yeah, just because it's a family movie doesn't necessarily mean the voice acting has to be bad. No. This does have really good voice acting. Thankfully so, because it does help to give the film its own charm. Everyone involved in this film when it comes to voice acting definitely try to give the characters their own personality, of course. And at the end of the day, that's also what counts too. Turning the characters feel alive in its own little way. So and that's definitely helps too, folks. And that's definitely is a great thing here because then you can tell there's some genuine effort, of course, through its production. And definitely a film I would say that it will charm a lot of people, no matter what your age is. So it should have a universal appeal to it. I mean, while granted, yes, this may appeal, may be appealing to kids, but overall, you should watch this no matter what your age is, because at the end of the day, what really matters is a good story, great characters, and that's what this film definitely has. Great characters and a great story. So at the end of the day, folks, that's what matters. That's all really matters as far as I'm concerned. A good story and great characters. So there's that, folks. It definitely has both. That's for sure. It definitely has both. I just wanted to review something that's animated because when it comes to Disney stuff, that's definitely something you want to think about. Of course, that's like one of the first things that comes to mind when it comes to Disney. They're animated movies, anything animated really. So I just want to talk about this for that reason. I'll just speak about some of their movies for this Disney-a-thon, I guess. And yeah, it's an enjoyable little flick that they made a long time ago. Yeah, no, people will be telling me that they don't make them like they used to. Well, there's definitely many great recent Disney flicks. The music is really good. The characters design is great. The overall story is pretty solid. It's definitely something that is done here, folks. Everyone in this film does a really nicely done job. So, and yeah, it's definitely one of the more popular movies. Yeah, no, not a whole lot of people talk about it really. Yeah, but lot of this, a lot of Disney fans do bring it up. So I guess that's what count for something, I suppose. So there's that. I can definitely say that the way the characters look, it definitely has this Disney feel to it. When you think about it, Disney definitely has its own distinctive style when it comes to animation. And I like that. It's pretty consistent with that kind of design that they are usually known for. So there's that. You can definitely see how it was, of course. This is definitely something I would highly recommend if you're definitely if you're an animal lover, of course. It's a fun little movie that they made, of course. And I did like what was done. The main cast of characters, of course, cats and dogs, and that's probably fine. Making it a setting in New York, of course, and yeah, it's not a disaster, but thanks to the way that Disney handled its material, it's definitely a lot of fun to watch. Filled with songs you can't forget, as well as many a combination of comedy and the whole bit of family drama. So overall, it's nicely put together. That's definitely a good thing, folks. Streetwise Dog is definitely one of the more memorable characters of the film, of course. So that's definitely a good thing. So yeah, of course there's gonna be some chaos and whatnot going through the entire film, and of course there's that one evil villain, and there's that one little girl I just mentioned earlier, folks. Yeah, she does become a memorable human character in the film, of course, and that's fine. There's nothing necessarily nothing wrong. We're trying to mix up the human world with the animal world, of course. Everybody having their own story and whatnot. That's cool. Like I said, can I have a villain, I guess? I know Disney is known for making villains into their stories, and that's definitely the case here. Well, gotta make it dramatic somehow, I guess, and that's exactly what happens here, of course. Make it seem a bit dramatic. That's really cool, I suppose, because I like what we're trying to aim for, of course. Alright, I guess I should just wrap things up already, because I know this video has been going on for a little while, really. So I do appreciate anybody watching this. And I'm saying that because I know my videos tend to get quite lengthy at times, of course. But yeah, there's no real complaints coming from me, folks, because I honestly enjoy this film. Really, it may not be my cup of tea because I when it comes to animal themed films, it's not really my thing, really. But like I said, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is the story, that the plot, the characters, its execution of an idea. I mean, okay, it may not be the most original idea out there, sure, but still, the way they handle it makes it seem really nicely put together, of course. So in that regard, they succeeded in entertaining the viewer in a lot of ways. It has its own Disney magic, of course. This is definitely something you can call a Disney movie. This is its own charm to the older films that the studio have made. And this film definitely has its own little charm. So yeah, I will recommend it if you have not seen it as of yet. So yeah, folks, I just figured I would review some of their older films while I'm at it. I would do that with each Disney-a-thon, talk about some of the movies and whatnot. So anyway, I'll give this film an overall rating of a 7.0 10. It gets a 7.0 for me. So of course, as usual, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah. Later.